Hi, everybody. My name is Ron from Ron's Flight Sim Lab. I'm a commercial pilot and aspiring flight instructor, um, working on that. Today we're going to talk about when not to fly. Today in Southern California, 23rd of January, it's pretty nasty out there. Let's take a look at the next rad here. This is not exactly the time I did the flight in the sim. With real weather injected into the simulator, but you can see that all of this yellow, coming out of, say, Oceanside directly over Carlsbad, is a bad thing. Green is just rain. We can fly through that with our airplane. You can fly through some yellow. It's not comfortable, it's not fun, and it's probably not a good idea. But the today we're going to do a flight from Carlsbad on instruments, an instrument flight plan, to Montgomery Field and fly an LPV approach. That's an RNAV or GPS approach. The flight's designed to be done in clouds with no reference to the outside world, just instruments, which in a day this nasty, that would be the case most of the flight. But there are other risks we need to talk about. So I mentioned the density of rain. That's what this radar display really shows. And of course, this is a moving target. The wind's coming from roughly 300, so down this way. It's going to be a crosswind to the right on both takeoff and landing. It's pretty brisk and gusty. There's quite a bit of water in the air, cloud levels that are above the freezing level. And right at the altitude where we would have to fly the file our flight plan at. So in the real world, this would be a no-go in an airplane that isn't certified for flight into icing conditions. Anytime that you have an airplane in a cloud that's visible moisture and the temperature is below freezing, that's a recipe for accumulating ice on your aircraft. All right, that's after a while it changes the shape of your airfoil, the way your airplane flies. It builds up weight. Different kinds of ice. As you can imagine, if it's also raining on you and it's below freezing, not frozen but liquid, it can strike the airframe and put a very clear sheet of ice on it. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be difficult to get rid of. So if it's just kind of cloud vapor, right, it'll pick up kind of like a very dense snow called rime icing. So we're going to, in a day like today, I would simply decide not to fly. But thanks to flight simulation, I decided, well, this is super marginal, really sketchy, definitely a no-go from a judgment perspective and aeronautical decision making. But we've got a simulator. Let's see what it would be like. So here's our flight path. In essence, we're going to take off from Carlsbad up here. Right now, it's reporting 5 statute miles visibility, rain, a few clouds at 1,100, overcast 4,500. We're going to have to file 6,000. So we're going to be in the soup almost the entire flight in the clouds. Let's take a look at Montgomery. That's Gillespie. We're lost already. We're looking at 360 at 6 knots, so basically it's going to be a direct crosswind to the ILS if we were to take off right now. It was actually a little more, it was 300 when I landed roughly, and gusting up to 15, sometimes as high as 18 knots. So that was pretty sporty. They're showing rain, broken 4,500, broken 5,500, overcast 9,500. The freezing level at the time of the flight, and this is verified, i.e. a pilot report, was 32 degrees at 5,900 feet. Kind of getting towards 31 at 6,000, kind of bouncing up and down off of it. So we'd have to file 6,000. And if it turns out we were in the clouds during that time, like I said before, we could be in trouble. So Let's take a look at the approach plate we're going to use. I'm going to use the RNAV GPS for 28 right. It's going to be a little difficult to see, but we're going to go from Carif, ask for vectors to Bakel, the initial approach fix, and the altitude there as you cross Bakel is supposed to be, it says in the Garmin GPS around 5,900. They get that off of, I believe, minimum vectoring altitudes. Oh, I'm sorry. Right here, if you were to go from this particular fix, let's see if I can zoom in on that. Oh, we can. A Agodi. It's 5,900 flyable there. They're going to want you to be 5,900 or above there. Likely, they're going to vector you around that 6,000 feet, nice round number, to Bakel. So we're going to file 6,000. I'm not actually going to fly it on Pilot Edge. I don't want them questioning my judgment, although they really wouldn't. But that's not the point of this. Then 4,200 to Bakel. That point, we're going to turn onto the final approach course, which is 281, just like the ILS. And then, of course, eventually grab the virtual glide slope to, let's see, LPV minimums, which are 673 or 250 feet above ground level. Now, the clouds are much higher than that. We're going to see the airport early, which is really early, which is a definite a safety consideration of the positive, right? If we had all of these things going against us and the clouds were at 700 feet, we'd only have 27 feet of grace period, right? That would be really poor judgment. But sometimes if I'm going to be doing a flight, it's going to be kind of challenging, but the clouds are expected to be a couple thousand feet above the airport at the destination and airports around it. I'll feel a little more comfortable about that, right? The closer you get to the ground, the more critical accuracy becomes, and more stressful it is. You should be more proficient and current. So that's what we're going to attempt. I captured some video. I didn't do the whole OBS studio thing in the sim because I just thought about this spur of the moment. So you're going to get some cell phone video edited in. So hopefully you find it interesting. See you there.
In the simulator today, we're flying in a Cessna 172 with the G1000 and GFC 700 Autopilot. We're using real weather, and I can hear rain on my roof. It is pouring and nasty outside. We're not picking up any airframe ice, which is remarkable. We are right on the edge at 32 degrees Fahrenheit outside air temperature. You can see by the motion of the yokes. Autopilots are doing their thing. That's not my hands doing it. And I tell you what, if I were really up today, I'd be biting my nails, hoping it'll ice up. The convective stuff, the yellow, heavier rain is off to the east of our path. We're going to turn south at Bakel, the initial approach fix, right before we get to it. That's next red, so the wind is blowing to the east. So, is that right? It'll be kind of northeast, according to the wind direction indicator. So, looks like that heavier weather is going to keep going away from our flight path. But you might want to try this at home, but don't try it for real, kids. I'll let you know how it goes. Mile out from Mibby, we have broken out in some of the cloud layers, but we are still definitely IMC. And we're on the glide path. Had a little on the way to Penny, 3 miles out. Had a little excitement earlier. The autopilot let go and it turned onto the final approach course at Mibby. I had to take control, which you sometimes do with autopilots, and do a little upset recovery. As you see, we have the runway inside off in the distance. A beautiful thing. It's still pretty bouncy here. We're in approach mode and on the glide path. Gonna pull out a little power. That'll be a welcome sight on a day like today. And we're getting close, folks. I'm about to take over. We got a 3 to 5 knot crosswind and gusting update. And we made it. Wasn't pretty. Very gusty. A lot of wind shear. Would have been a bit of a white knuckle. I think I could have done it in real life. But this would be very marginal, even if I were really proficient. So the gusts are blowing me around the taxiway, mostly because I'm not concentrating. But here we have it.
Approaching runway 10.
So we're back in the office. Took a look at the video clips. Obviously, I couldn't film the whole thing. I had to fly the airplane. As a matter of fact, like I said in the video, got in a little trouble because I was fiddling with the phone instead of flying. That's never a good thing, right? Cockpit distractions, texting and flying, that kind of thing. So trying to make a video for you guys. So a couple things to learn. One, I was flying with the audio off, and when the autopilot disengaged, I didn't know it because I was looking down. I didn't get too far out of control, which is kind of remarkable because it was pretty gusty, even in cruise flight. So I got the airplane back on track, flew the airplane by hand onto the glide slope, and then re-engaged and started filming again. That kind of thing does happen in reality, and that's obviously not a good thing. In reality, if the audio were up, there would have been a very loud tone that would have told me that the autopilot stopped doing its job. Why does it do that? The autopilot will only do so much for you. If, for example, you tell it to maintain altitude and it can't, maintain airspeed and it can't, etc., because you have too little power, too high an angle of climb, various autopilots will give you the big beep and then the finger, and that is a significant problem. Excuse me. So, what does this mean? It means that you've got to monitor your autopilot at all times, just like you were flying the airplane. The fact that you don't have to actually make micro corrections gives you those brain cycles back so that you can actually think about risk management, courses of action, aeronautical decision making, things like that. So they're great tools, but you do have to keep a couple of cycles on it to make sure that it's doing what you expect it to do. Now, in this case, turned out okay, but there have been accidents because of pilots turning on autopilot and forgetting that they're the pilot in command. Again, I want to reiterate that I would not have actually flown in these conditions because they were far too marginal. I actually probably couldn't call them marginal. They would be just a flat no-go in my personal minimum. So but it is interesting to go into the sim, see what it's like, understand the problems you encounter, because that's instructive, right? Maybe you'll look at that situation and think, okay, it was sketchy in a simulator. It's probably going to be even worse in reality. And that's if the weather is as forecast, because weather does get worse. Sometimes it trends better, sometimes it trends worse. And occasionally we're surprised, right? We're not professional meteorologists, we're professional pilots. So it's kind of an interesting video. The G1000 NXI with the GFC 700 Autopilot is an amazing tool. It's in a platform like the 172 that allows students to learn about flight management systems and cockpit automation and learn these lessons without any kind of risk, right? So hope you found it interesting. I'm going to do some more work with OBS Studio in the sim so that things are a little crisper and I can actually show you the windows, not a cell phone view of the windows, and panel and things of that nature. So anyway, I'm done flying and grounded because decided to have a nice Carl Strauss Rec Alley. But they make a great imperial stout, and have a great evening and fly safe.